Now, before I bring out Zira to help us demonstrate our crate training exercises, there were a couple of things that I wanted to touch up on. One of those being, I understand that there's a lot of people out there who are either against the crate or they're unsure of the crate because they think that it might be cruel to lock up the animal or to separate them from the family. One thing that I always like to tell my clients is that putting a dog in the crate is the same as putting a baby in a crib or a toddler in a playpen when you can't keep a direct eye on them. It's for the safety of our dog, the safety of our property, and the safety of our peace of mind. The second thing that I wanted to note is that the crate is going to be invaluable when it comes to both chewing and potty training. The reason that I mentioned the chewing is because oftentimes what happens is that the chewing takes place when the dog is not under direct supervision. The chewing can be frustrating and enraging to us as the dog owner. We have to keep in mind that it can also be very dangerous to the dog if they're chewing on electrical cords or anything of that sort that they're not supposed to be chewing on. That's gonna happen when you're not directly supervising them. So the crate is fantastic for that opportunity, just like I said, like we would put a toddler into a playpen to keep them from being able to hurt themselves. And as I said, the crate is going to be your best friend when it comes to potty training. It makes it so much easier. I do have another video, which I'll link to, regarding how to utilize the crate for potty training purposes, so we won't go into that too much here. But do keep in mind that if you're having potty training issues, the crate is going to be invaluable and quick at handling that. There's a couple of rules of thumb when it comes to crate training, but the most important is going to be that we want this to be A, a pleasurable experience, and B, a calm experience. That's going to be the biggest point, because oftentimes what happens is when we put the dog in the crate, we're going to be going somewhere, doing something, leaving the room, and so we might feel bad for the dog, and so we start giving it that extra focus and attention. And we may get super excited. And then also what happens is we get home and the dog is super excited and we're excited to see our dog, and so we start to act excited, and all that teaches the dog is that this is a place to be excited. The problem comes with the fact that one of the biggest issues that dog owners have when it comes to the crate is the whining and the barking that happens within. And those reactions that we have, those rituals that we set up of excitement, that's what makes the dog whine. That's what makes the dog whine and bark. And so what we want to remember is that all of these exercises with the crate, we want them to be calm and relaxed. So regardless of whether you have a dog or a puppy, the steps that go along with crate training and getting the dog acclimated to the crate, they're going to remain the same. What's really going to be different is the crate. Generally speaking, I like the wire crates, but as we've mentioned, especially in the potty training issue, dogs are naturally den-dwelling animals. So your airline crate, it does offer the dog the opportunity to be in a nice dark and enclosed space where they don't have to deal with the stressors of the outside world. When we're utilizing the crate for potty training purposes, however, our wire crate is what we're gonna want. Another rule of thumb that when it comes to the crate is that we want this to be a safe space. If there's a lot of chaos going on, we have people over, all of them, maybe other dogs, whatever, but the dog is stressed out, we are giving them this area that is theirs. And what you'll notice is as the dog gets older and starts utilizing the crate more, they're going to start going in it on their own without you letting them know. You won't have to close the gate. And that's because they start to recognize that this is their place. One of the ways that we're gonna go about that is that we never want to force the dog in if they don't want. And we also never want to reach in and pull them out if they're in trouble. Because again, we want this to be a calm and pleasurable experience. So what we're gonna do, as you see, I have a treat in my hand. She's been enjoying it while he's been talking. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna use this treat to lure her into the crate. Once I have her in the crate, then I'm gonna ask her to sit down. And the reason that I'm gonna ask her to sit down is because that's a much more calm and relaxed position. So it's going to be a lot easier for me to get it into the dog's mind that when you're inside the crate, it's calm and relaxed. So I lure her in, and I ask her to sit. And I have another video on how to teach a dog to sit, which I'll link to right here, but I'm gonna have her sit. Fantastic. And at this stage, the exercise is going to be simply staying in there with the door open. So again, I asked her to sit down, and that's for when I'm gonna be going somewhere or something of that sort. For this exercise that we're doing to acclimate the dog to the crate, the dog or the puppy to the crate, I'm not necessarily too concerned with what she's doing. I just want her to be calm and relaxed. So if you can practice this exercise of just her being in there with the door open, that, and you sitting right here, that's what's going to get her used to the idea of being in the crate and it being an okay thing. So again, we're just practicing with the door open. Now from this point, I'm going to utilize some of the foundational information that we used for Stay, which I'll leave a link to regarding that video if you'd like to check that out. All I'm looking for right now is duration. I want her to be able to hang out there. So that's why I'm just letting her nibble on the treat. I'm not even really giving it to her, I'm letting her nibble on it. What I'm going to do in just a moment is I'm going to give a few seconds in between the treats. If she should happen to get out of the crate while I'm waiting those few seconds, I'm gonna offer, as you just saw, a small verbal correction, just something to snap her out of it, get her focus back on me, and let her know what I'm asking of her. All right, so because she's so excitable, Zira is a very high energy dog. Because she's so excitable, when I do move into the me removing the treat and asking her to wait, I'm going to ask her to sit down or lay down, depending on her energy level. But I want her into a more calm and relaxed position. Again, I'm going to leave the door open. Her job is to just stay in there with the door open. Again, everything that I'm doing, I want it to be calm and relaxed because I want her to be in the mindset that if I put her in the crate, she can go right to sleep. She's that calm and relaxed. She knows that she's that safe and secure in the crate. So, unlike a lot of other behaviors where they perform the task and I get super excited because not only are they getting the treat, but my excitement is part of that reward. Unlike those, I'm gonna be really calm and relaxed. For this, my treat is going to be my reward. What I would recommend is before you decide to put the dog in the crate for an extended period of time before you go to bed or go to work or whatever, practice this. practice this as often as possible. It's not super strenuous. The dog isn't going to get bored of it, especially if you're using a high value treat like cheese or something of that sort. But it's not something super strenuous, so practice this as much as you possibly can before you decide to put the dog in the crate overnight. So once we've got the duration down with the door open, then I'm going to try doing it with the door closed. And I'm only gonna close it for a second, and then I'll open it right back up and give her that reward. Another tip is if I should happen to be opening the door, because again, we want everything to be calm and relaxed surrounding the crate. So if I should happen to be opening the door and she gets super excited and tries to push the door open with her nose or whatever, I offered that verbal correction, and then I just closed the door. I didn't close it all the way. It's still cracked and my hand is on it, but she can't get out. And as soon as she takes her step back and relaxes, then I can do it again. I can open it back up. One of the most important aspects of crate training is going to be timing of when you give them what they want. She wants this reward, she wants this treat. When I open the door and I've just gotten home from work, maybe she wants to get out, she wants to explore the environment. Whatever she wants, she gets it by being calm and relaxed. So that means that if I have the door closed, regardless of whether I'm doing these exercises or if it's a real world scenario where I just got home from work, if I have the door closed and she's whining, she's barking, she's jumping around, any of that sort, I don't want to open the door, because all that's letting her know is if I want the door opened, all I have to do is whine and bark. And I do recognize that when it comes to puppies, this may be a little bit more difficult because puppies are gonna whine. But what we wanna do is we wanna find 2 seconds, just like what we did with Stay, just like what we've been doing here. We want 2 seconds of silence. And then we open the door. We're gonna build that over time. So this is our first time ever working with the crate and doing these exercises, or it was her first time staying overnight, whatever it is. She very well may be whining when I get to her. So in that case, I'm just gonna hang out here and just sit here for a moment. If I need to, if she's getting too worked up, I'll ask her to sit down or lay down. That's another benefit of having the wire crate, because, hey, guess what? I can give her a treat overhead, which also means that I can ask her to sit down from overhead. So for this particular exercise, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put her in the crate, and then I'm gonna stand up and take a couple of steps away. I'm still here, she can still see me, but I'm gonna stand up, I'm gonna take a couple of steps away, and then I'm gonna calmly come back and give her that reward. After a couple of repetitions of that, just so that she gets the idea, then I'm going to up the ante a little bit. I'm going to put her in the crate, and I'm gonna go around a corner where she can't see me, and I'm just going to wait there. And for puppies or dogs that are new to the crate, what you may or may not notice is that they start whining pretty quickly once you're out of eyesight. So again, just like I mentioned a moment ago, what we want to do is wait until we get that 2 seconds of silence. Once we get 2 seconds of silence and she's able to do that, then we can build that, and we can wait 3 seconds. We can wait 5 seconds, we can wait 10 seconds, and so on and so forth. So just to reiterate, when I do put her in the crate, personally, I don't care what she's doing. She could be sitting down, she could be laying down, she could be standing on her head. I don't care. I'm looking more for the mindset. I want her to be calm and relaxed. If she is a little bit too rambunctious, yes, I'll ask her to sit down when she goes inside. If she's still wiggling and shaking her butt and inching and all that stuff, I might have her lay down. And we do want to keep in mind that we don't want to set the dog up for failure. So if the dog is super excited when we're doing these exercises, I don't care what position she's in, I'm just worried about the mindset. But if she is having a harder time calming down, then I'm gonna hang out here. I'm not gonna look at her, I'm not gonna talk to her. I'm just going to sit here and stare away until she calms down, and then I'll give her that reward, and then I'm going to continue the exercise. As I mentioned, the exercise that I'm referring to is I'm gonna get up, go around the corner, and simply hang out for a few seconds. Again, if she's whining, I'm gonna wait that 2 seconds, and we're gonna build it up from there. So let's go ahead and give that a shot. I know she's so pretty, isn't she? All right, ask her to sit down, but again, I don't care what she's doing. I just want her to be calm and relaxed. Alrighty, so let's give this a shot. I'm gonna be around the corner, so you're actually going to be able to see what she's doing better than I can, obviously. But again, I'm not concerned with her sitting down or laying down just yet. Hopefully that will come naturally. But that's going to come naturally if she's already used to being calm while in the crate. And again, that's why I want everything I do, putting her in the crate, getting her out of the crate, when I'm talking while I'm outside of the crate, I want everything to be calm and relaxed. So I'm going to get up, go around the corner, you let me know what she's doing. If she tries to bust out, I'm going to, again, as I mentioned, I'll have the door open, but I'm going to close it just enough so that she can't bust out, and I'm going to wait until she backs up and calms down a little bit. Good girl, good girl. So, to recap, there are 3 components to acclimating a dog or puppy to the crate. The first one is going to be simply that door open exercise where you're sitting right there next to them. The second one is going to be the door closed exercise. You're still right next to them, but the door is closed. The third component is going to be you actually leaving the room, going around a corner, somewhere out of eyesight. The next thing to remember, which is really the most important thing when it comes to acclimating a dog or puppy to the crate, it's going to be, we want everything to be as calm and relaxed as possible surrounding the crate. That means when we're putting the dog in, when we're taking the dog out, when we're practicing these exercises next to the dog, at any point, even when we're sticking our hand in the crate to give them a treat, at any point that we are around this crate with the dog, we want them to be as calm and relaxed as possible. So that means that me personally, I have to be as calm and relaxed as possible. I have to have a nice calm tone of voice. I have to move in very steady ways. So I need to make this as calm and pleasurable as possible. And that brings me to my next point, which is rewards. We want to have a high value reward, ideally something that you only use for crate training right now. And I say right now because all of these little exercises, they can really be done in a day. If you dedicate an hour or 2 hours out of your day when you first get the puppy, going through these processes, you're going to have a lot easier time when it comes to leaving them in there for longer periods of time. But realistically, not all of us have a few hours to just dedicate to this one little exercise. There are other things that we could be doing with our time. So if you can practice this, maybe 5 or 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, and a couple times a day, 2 or 3 times a day. When you first get the puppy, you're going to notice a marked improvement very quickly. So we want to make sure that when we do start this acclimation process, we do devote a little bit more time when we first get the dog or first start using the crate, before we leave them in there overnight or while we're at work. So thanks for watching this video on crate training. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please leave them in the comment section below. As always, don't forget to smash that like button. Don't forget to click that red subscribe button and join me on this journey of some minor dog training, where I teach you how to train yourself to better train your dogs.